Hello everybody and welcome to the Daily Splat. Yes, I know I've been missing for a little bit of time, okay, a couple of weeks, sorry. It's been a little bit busy over here, but thankfully I'm able to get back on and get cracking with these again. Yes, so Euro 2012. See, I watched the final yesterday. It's still on my mind. Incredible performance by Spain. Anyway, today is another video. I believe it's video number 12 in our review of the English Premier League season, going team by team. It's a 20 video series thing, and today we are looking at Norwich City and just reviewing the season for them. All in all, a pretty damn fantastic season for Norwich. They finished 12th, which, for a newly promoted side is really, really good. Of course, finishing second in the Championship the season before. Did they finish second? Yes, they did, because QPR won it, obviously. So, Norwich, promoted. A lot of people didn't give them much hope, including yours truly, who tipped them to go down, if you go back to the videos I made about 9 or 10 months ago. But they were just really good. Paul Lambert had all these players, which he collected from mostly Championship and League One teams, into a really solid team that was very hard to break down, and you saw it in some of the games where they beat Tottenham towards the end of the season. They got a 3-3 draw with Arsenal. They held Chelsea to a goalless draw. They were very unlucky to lose both games to Manchester United that they did. Really, the only team that got the upper hand on them was Manchester City, who sadly thrashed them in both games, 5-1 and 6-1, I believe it was. But there were very few spankings handed out to Norwich, and I think it's a testament to the way that these players, which a lot of people didn't really know or value, the way they all moulded together and became this really, really good team. John Ruddy in nets was one of the main keepers of the season, one of the best performing keepers, and were it not for a hand injury that he picked up in training before Euro 2012, he would have been England's backup goalkeeper to Joe Hart. So he had an absolutely fantastic season. Elsewhere in the team, obviously Grant Holt, very hard to look past, getting all the goals for that team. Scored a couple of absolute crackers and just a really, really good, solid player. But there were just other players all over the pitch who were a surprise. I thought Tierney in defence was very, very good for them as well. You had Fox, who was fantastic. You had Pilkington, who was a bit of a revelation at the start of the season. Lots of these good English players, or I say good, they were solidish Championship level English players which really stepped up to the Premier League, which was absolutely fantastic for Norwich. And to be honest, they didn't just stay up. They stayed up pretty comfortably. They were never really dragged into the relegation scrap at all. And the fact 12th place finish with a newly promoted side, it's hard to not give them anything other than an A. Fantastic. They played good football. Very hard to break down. Absolutely cracking season for them. So, Norwich, A, there you go. Absolutely brilliant. However, the question with Norwich now is the future. Of course, the dreaded second season coming up for themselves, and of course Swansea and QPR, all three of the promoted sides staying up. The second season is generally where you see a couple of teams drop off and fall back down into the lower leagues, and of the three sides, I think Norwich might be in the most trouble. Of course, losing Paul Lambert, who's gone to take over the Aston Villa job, that could be a problem, because Lambert has been absolutely fantastic for Norwich, and I know they've brought in Chris Hughton, who's a very good manager, but I'm not 100% sure what he's going to be able to do with the resources that Norwich have, which aren't exactly a lot. So it's going to be tricky, and I'm not going to predict their relegation just yet, because I've learnt, I'd like to think, from what happened over the last 12 months. But there's a good solid basis to build from. I think a lot of it will depend on if Grant Holt leaves. It seems quite likely he will, seeing as he handed that transfer request, and it's still unresolved. He hasn't come out and said he's staying. He does want to move somewhere. If Norwich can get a decent price for him, then I think they can attract a couple of forwards to fill his boots, and I think Chris Hughton is a good appointment, even though I'm not 100% sure what he'll do or how he'll go. I don't think there's really a better appointment Norwich could have made. We saw what he did with Newcastle. I thought he was very unlucky to be sacked there when he was. He did very well with Birmingham this season, and they only just missed out through losing a playoff game to Blackpool. So I think he's a good manager, and I do think he can get the same level of drive and commitment out of those players that Paul Lambert did with the previous season. The only trouble will be is teams will sort of know how to play Norwich now. Well, they'll know what to expect. They'll be like, okay, these guys, they play very solidly. They actually counter-attack quite well. They're going to put up a big fight type thing. I think they'll be looking at the performances that Manchester City put in and going, how did they do it? Exactly how was it that they beat them? And trying to implement those tactics. So I think this next season is going to be very tricky for Norwich, but that can't take anything away from them. This last season, the 2011 to 2012, will have to go down as an absolute success for Norwich because it's just really good. And now it's all about they stayed up. It's now about trying to consolidate themselves as a Premier League team. There's plenty of examples in the league. Stoke City are probably one of the best ones to look at. I would have said Bolton if it weren't for the fact they went down. But teams like like Stoke and indeed Newcastle only came up a couple of years ago, and West Brom recently. These are teams that have just done really well at holding their position. Of course, we'll have to wait and see what Norwich do. Okay, so that is all for today's review. Our next video will be looking at Queen's Park Rangers and all the fun and games that went on there. Make sure that you tune in for that, and I'll speak to you all soon. Hopefully. Okay, till then, bye-bye.